Good night. Welcome to another episode of Pursuit. We are continuing on with our study of Ephesians, but before we get into that, we're going to do a quick quiz. I'm going to start the quiz party. Which one? This one is the ice cream
So
one?
I feel you should explain to everyone what the quiz is supposed to determine.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the name. It just loaded. So it's called Buy Ice Cream, and More Ice Cream from Target, and we'll guess your age with 91% accuracy. So it's not like the best of the best percentages, but I feel like that's pretty close. Like, I would be okay if I got that score in a test. Right? Okay, so the first one. Mocha almond fudge, strawberry and fudge, cookie dough, or caramel brownie cake batter.
I've honestly only heard of one of these flavors.
Cookie dough?
Yeah. Have you heard of the other three?
Mocha almond fudge.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard of brownie and cake batter, just not
But
all
not
together.
that's what I'm saying. I've never heard them together. I just want cookie dough. That's what I want to know.
I was going to do that, but mocha almond fudge also sounds good. I'm not a fan of fruits in my ice creams.
That's fair.
So I wouldn't do that one. And I feel like caramel brownie cake batter is just like a cavity waiting to happen.
I know.
I think I'm going to do mocha almond fudge. Did you pick one?
I'm gonna do cookie dough.
Basic. All right, another one. Brookie dough, double vanilla, mocha cold brew coffee, mint cookies and cream. Mint cookies and cream? I'm doing that one.
What is brookie dough?
I think it's just like brownie and cookie. That's what it looks like to me.
Are they just making up flavors now?
It's called innovation.
I'm gonna go mocha cold brew.
Yeah, I was gonna do that one.
I figured you would do that one too.
Since none of them really exist, might as well just do the one that sounds nice.
They're clearly real branded ice creams.
I
Okay.
don't believe it at all.
Triple chocolate truffle, monster cookie, moose tracks, or sea salt caramel pretzel.
I'm gonna go sea salt caramel pretzel.
I feel like there's a very fine line for like sea salted items, because sometimes it's too salty, and I'm just
I feel like that's the point of sea salt. It's like
Too
extra salty.
salty?
It's extra salty.
yeah. But there's like a fine line. Like I know what it's supposed to do, but I don't want like excuse me, salty ice cream. I think I'm gonna do monster cookie. I don't know what that is, but
I want triple chocolate.
I was going to do that, but chocolate ice cream is just not my jam.
What?
It's not that controversial. A lot of people agree with me. All right. Cookies and cream, rainbow sherbet.
Sherbet.
I don't know why you're looking at me to help you pronounce a word. I'm the wrong person.
Double chocolate mint, or peanut butter fudge.
What are
Peanut
the
butter
chan-
fudge.
I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but double chocolate mint.
Yeah, what are the chances that taste like the Girl Scout Thin Mints?
Oh, Thin Mints. I don't
'Cause
know.
Those are so good.
Never actually had a Thin Mint.
What? They're so good.
Because
So
mint doesn't like appeal to me.
To be fair, I hate mint and chocolate together, but Thin Mints are amazing.
I love minty chocolate. Peppermint
not for me.
patties.
Nah.
The mint Oreos.
Nah.
Thin Mints, you put them in the freezer. Thin Mints and peppermint patties, you put those in the freezer. Eat them. Ooh, top tier. Oh, which one did you pick?
Cookies and cream.
Okay, butter pecan, s'mores, pecan or pecan?
Pecan.
Pecan.
Ooh, I'm pecan. If I want to be classy, then I'll say pecan, you know? But I feel like
So
that's
that's
more...
never then. You set yourself up for that, and the fact that you thought I wasn't gonna take that shot is very, very surprising.
Wow. I can be classy? That's so
No
rude.
comment.
Yeah, there is no comment. Butter pecan, s'mores, peanut butter, cookies and cream, or pumpkin cheese. Pumpkin cheesecake?
No, they're getting kind of crazy with this pumpkin stuff. S'mores.
Peanut butter cookies and cream.
S'mores.
All right, caramel, maple, bourbon, pecan pie.
Oh,
Caramel.
you're not classy now?
I get to choose. caramel maple bourbon pecan pie, caramel brownie, key lime pie, or Java chunk. I feel like the word chunk is not appealing to me.
It really isn't. I'm doing key lime pie though.
I'm going Java chunk.
I'll do caramel brownie. All right, cotton candy, apple crisp, blueberry cheesecake, or Rocky Road.
Cotton candy.
I don't like any of these. I'll do Rocky Road.
Same.
All right. How many more are these? Okay. Vanilla bean, strawberry cheesecake, birthday cake, or Neapolitan? Vanilla bean.
Birthday cake.
Vanilla bean.
Chocolate, vanilla cake, and cookie dough, cashew caramel, or mini donut. Mini donut?
Yum. That sounds so good.
How does that differentiate from regular sized donuts?
You know, many things hit better.
That's true. They do.
They do.
They
Many
do.
M&Ms hit better than
The regular
M&Ms.
M&Ms, so much better.
To be honest, I feel like regular standard M&Ms aren't that great.
Yeah.
Like a regular M&M is too much. The mini one is the better size. In that particular case, if that makes sense.
The regular size is too much?
Yeah. The proportion is like it's not right.
Do you need more candy to chocolate?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's why the mini works. But any other M&M, the regular is fine. Do they do minis for like any of the other flavors?
I don't think so. I feel like it'd be hard to do that for like the ones with filling.
I mean, if they can put mini donuts in ice cream, I don't see why you can't put a mini pretzel in M&M.
I mean pretzels maybe, but then it's not going to be mini. It'll just be a regular sized.
Oh no.
Okay. I'll do vanilla cake and cookie dough.
I'm gonna do classic chocolate.
I don't get chocolate ice cream lovers. I don't get it.
So what do
But
you?
the same could be said for me with my mint and chocolate.
So what do you do when you eat like an ice cream cake? Because they're always like chocolate ice cream in those.
I suffer through, like I make it work, but it wouldn't be my flavor of
You
choice.
suffer through an
I mean,
ice cream cake.
you're never suffering when you're eating ice cream. The suffering comes after that. But
I have no words right now.
what did you pick?
I don't know. I have to pick mini donut or not.
Pick mini donut.
What if it's too sweet? Can I trade with one of you guys?
What do you mean trade?
Okay. I picked mini donut.
As you should. All right. Caramel waffle cone, strawberry swirl, midnight mix, or tiramisu. Ooh, tiramisu! But also caramel waffle cone.
Like what's in
I'm
the
trying to read
midnight mix?
I was trying to see that too.
I feel like I see M&Ms in there.
Maybe cookies and cream? Or the tiramisu?
Yeah, tiramisu.
Ooh, that's the last one. Okay. We'll start with Kevin. Oh, wait. Did you click done? Okay. What?
12? I said I would be 12.
So Asha and I both got 12.
I got 29?
Ow, my ribs.
What?
I feel like that's because you avoided all of like the sweet ones. And it's like you're old because you're the one that mentioned the word cavity. That's all I'm gonna say.
As a child that ate as much sugar as I did, I know what it takes.
In the imaginary ice cream thing, you didn't pick stuff because you were afraid of getting a cavity on an ice cream that you were never gonna eat.
But you have to pick the one that you would eat.
No, honestly, there were no rules on this. It just said buy ice cream, and more ice cream. It didn't even say you have to eat it.
I'm not gonna buy ice cream if I'm not gonna eat it. What sense does that make?
Maybe you're buying it for a friend.
That's not what the mindset that I was going into this with.
Well, clearly, that's the type of person you are. You don't really buy for your friends.
I will not have you ruin my character like this twice in like 5 minutes.
You make it too easy.
Wow. I try to be nice, all right? Everyone tells me I'm too mean, right? I've gotten that.
Who tells you that?
My sister.
So one person?
Also my mom sometimes, but that's those are two big people. Anyways, they tell me I'm too quick and I've slowed down, and this is what happens to me.
Does it make you feel better that Quizzy is also 21?
No, it doesn't. We added the quizzy person into it, and we got the same age.
So basically, a
But-
robot and Ariel are the same age.
But I have no context for quizzy and who they are. So.
Well, clearly you have this similar taste. All right, I feel like we should do one more that's not so boring.
I was excited.
Yeah. Asha picked this one.
Yeah.
Did you click next one? It says it's waiting for something, but I'm not sure what. Okay.
There's something exciting. That's like hot button issues.
Hot button? Oh, I was going to say what chicken wing flavor matches your personality, but I guess that's not very hot button.
Yeah, no, I mean it's spicy hot. Let's go with that one.
All right. On a scale of excuse me. On a scale of 1 to 6, how messy of an eater are you? I feel like it depends on who I'm around.
I know.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
Like if it's this crowd, like if it's the three of us, I feel like I'd be comfortable at a 5.
I was gonna say you feel comfortable at like pecan instead of pecan. Which,
even-
being as it's a scale from 1 to 6, that's a pretty accurate statement, I feel. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
Whatever. Not gonna
All
lie,
right,
I
so
didn't
let's
fully
do it
hear
based on if it's the three of us
Oh, okay.
eating.
I'd be comfortable with a 5 out of 6, messy. Pick a dipping
I'm
sauce
a
to go
4.
with your wings. Oh, sorry. What did you pick?
I'm 4 also.
Okay. Pick a dipping sauce: blue cheese, honey
cheese.
mustard, sour cream, ketchup, ranch, or none.
Ranch.
Ranch. I'm not much of a dipping sauce person, to be honest. I could have just done none. I'll do none. I don't dip. Don't forget to order excuse me, a side dish: nachos, cheesy garlic bread, potato salad, French fries, sweet potato fries, or none.
I feel like
Nachos.
those first three, like, you don't really order. I mean, nachos aren't like a side
Oh
dish.
yeah,
to
that's
wings.
true.
Not to wings.
I'm gonna go French fries.
Yeah.
Wash it and something excuse me. And something to wash it all down with. Soda, milk, water, or none of these. Who is drinking milk?
If it's hot. If it's
Ew,
extremely
that's
hot.
gross.
Yeah, but
No,
I'm not
because
drinking
milk will
that.
cool your mouth down.
Yeah, but I'm not picking milk as a drink.
Have
for
you
my
not
wings.
watched that show Hot Ones?
Yeah, but
And
that's like an
they-
after thing. That's not like while I'm eating. I'll do water.
doing
I'm going soda.
What do you usually watch when chowing down on wings? Netflix. Oh, options: soccer, hockey, baseball, reality TV, Netflix, or none of these.
Where's basketball?
baseball? Did I say basketball?
No, I know. I meant
Oh,
like-
you meant.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna go
Netflix it
Netflix.
is.
And finally, how many napkins do you use?
Ooh, like 12.
All of
I
them.
like the last option. I'm
I'm
more of a
moist towel up
moist
person. To be
towel
honest,
person.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay. I got hot buffalo. Oh, so did Kevin. Okay. Your taste buds are hardcore and you love to push things to the extreme. You've got a high pain tolerance and you like to make bold moves. You're hella spicy and you wouldn't change it for the world. You're not wrong.
I really thought Asha and I would get the same thing because I feel like most of our answers were the same.
Oh, yeah.
I'm honey barbecue. I love that for me.
It says, she's a little sweet, a little spicy, and a whole lot of awesomeness. You're smooth and are a perfect balance of flavors. You have very few enemies, and tasting great comes naturally to you.
Aw, I feel like that's so accurate.
I love how the robot got lemon pepper. You're popping with fresh flavor, and honestly, it's really refreshing. What?
I want to know what options it picked to get that.
Why are you guys referring to our friend as an it?
Because we.
I won't define it.
Our friend Quizzy.
I won't pick its pronouns for it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
No comment. I don't know what.
All right. I think that's...
Yeah. Done with these quizzes.
Okay. So, we're continuing on with the study of Ephesians. And we're doing about mid chapter 3 to mid chapter, or actually all of chapter 4, I think, right?
I think
For the
so.
most
Honestly,
part.
I think we're kind of end up kind of skipping that end of chapter 3 anyway.
Yeah.
So we're mostly focusing on chapter 4 today. So chapter 4, Paul starts with this interesting phrase, right? He says, "Therefore I, a prisoner for serving the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of your calling, which you have been called by God." So for me, I think that was always an interesting statement because in church culture, I guess, we more so spend more time, I think, trying to find your calling more so than anything else. So the fact that Paul's not here saying, "Hey, spend your time finding your calling because you've been called by God," he's actually saying, "Lead a life worthy of it," which I feel is very different from just telling, like, I mean, we go to like church camp and stuff, and it's like, all right, we're gonna pray for like your calling and stuff, and that's great, but I don't feel there's been necessarily a focus on the idea of live a life worthy of your calling. I don't know if you guys
Yeah.
agree or disagree.
I think I've never thought about it in that way, but like growing up, I feel like that would have been a good like foundation. It's like even before you know what your calling is, you should live a life worthy of it. It's like it's kind of like preparation for it, but also just keeping in mind that you do have a calling and you are here for a reason. So it's just like, hey, whenever you find out what your calling is, make sure you're up to par, like you're ready for it. You're already living a life that you should be living, kind of, I guess, in that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think that when people put the emphasis on like finding your calling, like it can put a lot of like stress on you, and like you will like be focused on that one thing instead of like actually trying to like do things to like be worthy of it.
Yeah, a lot of times I think we focus too much on trying to figure out what it is instead of like trying to make sure that we're ready for it.
Well, what I think is really great about the way Paul puts this is that, like, if someone says you're going to be a worship leader, right, and you feel that's your calling, and I feel like a lot of people, their focus will shift from the, I guess, quality of character, which is what Paul's talking about, more to the skills needed to be a worship leader, right? So, okay, well, I need to get like vocal training. I need to learn my instruments. I need to learn my music theory and stuff like that. And I'm not saying those things aren't important for that specific calling, yet I feel like Paul's trying to say it's like God will take care of those qualifications for your calling because he's calling you to do that. So what we need to do is have the character so that when we're in that position, whatever that position is, right, it's now, I don't know if it's held to a higher standard. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but it's like now we're doing it, well, Paul puts it, we're worthy of the calling.
Yeah.
Right? Which I guess means that there are people who can simply be called to do something and then just decide they're going to do it, but they're not actually worthy of it. And I feel like if I'm being honest, I feel like I've met people like that. And like, it's funny I said worship leader because the person is a worship leader. And what's interesting is that his approach within the church was to try and pit people against each other while he was leading from stage, right? And approach is not the best word, but what he would be doing when he was off stage was kind of planting things in people's heads, like, oh, like he'd go to Asha and be like, Asha, Ariel was saying this about you, and then go to Ariel and be like, Asha was saying this, and this about you, but then he'll go up on stage and lead, and eventually he kind of left
It catches
the church.
up to you.
And that's the thing for him. Well, to be honest, I feel like he's still on the run, but that's a different story. And when it does catch up with him, it's going to be bad. But again, when you look at the scripture, I feel like he was clearly talented, though, as a worship, like musicianship, vocally very gifted. So I could see why, like, to me, there was no doubt that he was called to be a worship leader, right? Like, clearly, in a church on a Sunday morning, putting him to, like, teach Sunday school or children's church would have been a waste, because clearly he should be singing and playing an instrument. But for that, 30 minutes, once that's done, his character did not back up him being someone leading the congregation into worship.
That's like in Hollywood when like there are like clearly like a lot of like talented actors out there, but a lot of them burn out really quick, you know, with the stress of like the lifestyle. And I just feel like when you just go into it, like as you said, like, you know, clearly he has the talent for it, but you know, his mind, his intentions aren't like pure. They're not that humble. And I feel like that's why like you should just like wait to live the life worthy of your calling.
I think it also kind of evens the playing field, because if we're all trying to live a life worthy of our calling, even before you know what it is, it's kind of more of like a team building thing, because at that point you're not like, oh, this is my calling, I'm solely going to focus on that, but it's more so of everyone trying to hold like each other accountable, like, hey, we should be living this type of way, we should be doing this, this, and this. And then it's kind of I think it also makes things easier, because you all have that same like set goal of just trying to be worthy of what it is that you're supposed to be doing.
As we were talking, one of the things I realized is that I feel like the way we started the topic was kind of wrong, in the sense that the church does talk about this. I feel like the better word would have been integrity, right? But I feel like we don't associate integrity with our calling. It's almost like it's two separate things. When we talk about it in churches, for some reason, because like anyone that's go ahead.
I think we talk about integrity more of like a way of life. Like you should have integrity, you should live like with intentions, but you don't really relate it to living with integrity in order to be worthy of your calling.
Yeah, because I feel like anytime someone has told me, hey, like this is your call, like this is what God's called you to do, it's never been, oh, okay, well now you have to make sure you're living your life a certain way or anything like that. It's just been like, all right, this is your calling. You should, spend more time like doing like, I feel like these more like spiritual things, like reading your Bible, praying, and stuff like that. But it was never like, I mean, Paul outlines, I think 5 or 6 things in the next few verses, right? He says, always be humble and gentle, be patient with others, making allowance for each other's faults because of love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in spirit, binding yourselves together with peace, right? So there's be humble, be gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love, and this bond of peace or unity, right? So he kind of gives these qualities that I think he's saying, look, as a believer, these are the qualities you should be kind of striving towards, right? And I think they're important whenever God has you kind of step into that calling.
Yeah.
Because like there was a really interesting thing about like pastors' kids, where like especially those that sing, like they end up leaving the church, right? And I always think like, I think it's like Katy Perry and like there's a few other ones that like they got their start in church, right? And what ends up happening is, from what I've seen, it's either they didn't have those qualities, or those qualities weren't shown to them, and it kind of chased them out of the church. Like I especially see bearing one another in love and unity of bond and peace. When those two things aren't there, it easily chases someone out of the church. So I can see how people who have these amazing abilities who start in church end up leaving, because they weren't living a life worthy of their calling, or they were surrounded by people who may not have been living their life worthy of their calling, and that chased them out as well.
I think that can happen for anyone in any role, to be honest, though, not just like focusing on like PKs. Because it's easy for anyone to become discouraged, especially when you're like trying to figure things out for yourself. But that's why it's important to live that life, so you know that you should be like, you should. What's the phrase? Like you
I don't
should.
know.
You know what? I'm not here for this. I am not. Like you should have grace towards other people because you'd wish them to have grace towards you as well.
Well, and I think that's the
Trying to do that now.
the bearing one another in love,
Yeah.
right? I think that's kind of what that is, right?
Yeah.
And no, I mean I was using the PKs as an example, but I think you see that happen with so many people who they can be humble, gentle, and patient, but I think a lot of times we don't bear one another in love. We don't treat each other with the grace that we wish we were shown. I mean, I was having a conversation with someone in the last 2 weeks, and I'm like, you know, they have this conflict with this person. The person's not really treating them the best. They're like, oh, well, so I'm just going to treat them this. And I'm like, but here's what the Bible says. And it's like, well, why should I do it if they're not doing it? And Paul's saying,
Regardless.
yeah, regardless, bear one another in love. Keep that bond of peace and unity, right? It's obviously, for us to be in peace with each other, I have to try and you have to try. But just because you stop trying doesn't mean that I should too. And I think that's one of the things Paul was, I think, getting to with our calling and things like that.
And in this, I guess, segment, or like this part of the book as well, they talked about different ways of like how you can find your calling, I guess, or what you should look out for in your calling. I think Asha, you were talking about it before too, with like the 3 A's.
Yeah, so the 3 A's are ability, what you're good at, affinity, what you're passionate about, and affirmation, what other people recognize about you that will help them in their faith.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, is that it?
I thought there was more to that.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know if you want to explain a little bit more about those 3 words.
So,
I mean, you didn't mention them, so.
Patience. So the 3 A's help you find your spiritual gift, and I don't know why I just but to help you find your spiritual gift. And I actually think like it's so helpful. Like the 3 A's, they're also not. Well, they are to help you find your spiritual gift, but you could use it like in any part of your life.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you were like transitioning, like trying to find what job you want to go into, it's just basically like finding what you're passionate about, and where you think that you can contribute the best to like lead people who are in the faith or outside of the faith and help them get closer to Jesus.
Go ahead.
I think it also helps kind of not dumb it down, but also simplify it as to what you should be looking for, because a lot of times people only see like the more stage central aspects, but when you think about it, like, hey, am I good at like planning? Do I have a good ear for like the sound technician or whatever? And it's things like that you can naturally feel like you're good at, and then there's smaller roles, I guess. In how do I don't look at me like that. They're physically smaller roles in terms of like they're more behind the scenes, but they do hold a lot of weight and you don't really notice them until you're in it. So when you look at it in terms of like your ability to do things, it kind of opens up a lot of doors for you instead of just like what you see around you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think like in this particular passage, when Paul will list out a few, I guess, callings in the church, and he does kind of list out things that today are more associated with like a stage, in the sense of it's like pastoring and preaching, and I think like being an evangelist. I forget which ones he calls out here, but he calls these different like gifts, callings out, right, or gifts that Christ gave to the church, right? Apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers, right? And a lot of those are kind of these callings in which you're in front of a crowd, right? And there are other scriptures in which he does call out these other gifts and callings that I think are just as important. And like you said, though, they take on different forms that a lot of times we're not used to seeing in a church, because more often than not, when you come into church, or even if with COVID and everything, everyone's like watching online, right? So you're not seeing a lot of the behind the scenes things, right? And it's interesting, because for me, obviously I do a lot of behind the scenes stuff here at our church. So when I watch things, I pick up on they're like, I can kind of get an idea, they're doing a lot behind the scenes to make this happen and make it happen smoothly and things like that. But for a lot of people, if you're not a part of some of those non-stage things, you don't really know there's more to church than just being on the stage.
Yeah.
One of the gifts and the calling is, or rather the gift is of service, of actually just being able to serve people, right? And I think that's, when you look at the qualities of being worthy of your calling, of being humble, gentle, patient, bearing one another in love, peace, and unity, clearly you need to have those qualities if you're going to be serving people.
I think a lot of people overlook that because it's just kind of like, a lot of times it can just seem as though like, they just need me to grab something, I'm just going to go grab it because I'm available. But if that's like what you're genuinely good at and you can be of use for that particular role, it plays a very big part in a lot of things. Because like even like on stage, they have like the little mini water bottles for like the whoever's on stage, like the worship leader, the pastor, whatever. It's a little water bottle, but it plays a big role. And you don't think about it until it's not there. Or even the big water bottles.
Sorry, I've been thirsty for a while. No, but
you see, it plays a big role.
No, but it's interesting because like some of the gifts, like when you look at them, I feel like there's no skill set to it.
Yeah.
Like there's no real skill set to serving, right? Because we're not talking about like a waiter waitress kind of thing of being, clearing plates and bring like. Some of the gifts are more your attitude, right? And the way you carry yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to be served by someone in church who's like angry all the time and think that's just really weird. So I think even though Paul doesn't list all of them at this time, that's why he says you have to be worthy of your calling. Right? Because for some of us, you may not know what God has called you to do yet. But when you're living your life worthy of any calling, I think that kind of opens the door to allow God to really use you to be impactful among other people.
I think what's also helpful, I guess, in finding out what you're good at and what other people think you're good at is by like dipping your toe in a lot of different like activities or aspects of things, especially if you're like unsure of what it is that you're good at. Just try a little bit of everything. You can find that like you're pretty good at something you never would have even imagined. Because like pre-COVID, I was part of the live stream drama team and children church, and then as a result of COVID, when we moved a lot of things online, I was helping you out with like some of the editing stuff. I didn't think that, like, I was never interested in it. That's not something that I would say that, like, excuse me, if it was needed, I wouldn't, like, just volunteer on my own accord. But taking part in it, it's just,
I don't know. I feel like you keep looking at me.
It opens a lot of doors that you didn't think were even there.
Also, I feel like people always think that like you can only have one calling,
Yeah.
and you can actually have many.
Yeah. You can be good at more than one thing.
And, I think one of the things that's important, I think we started touching on it, is the reason for callings, right? God gives us these abilities and responsibilities for a purpose, right? So it can be to equip people for works of service, right? Like the ones he listed there, like being a pastor or evangelist and things like that.
Yeah.
You have to build up the body of Christ to reach unity in the faith, unity in the knowledge of the Son of God, or Jesus Christ, and then maturity in our faith, right? And again, I think being that person of integrity, even before you know the calling, right, can be so important.
Yeah.
Because there's one of the quotes I've read about when it comes to being a preacher is, it is not the quality of the preaching that makes the preacher, but rather the quality of the preacher that makes the preaching. And I think a lot of people wait until they're called to then kind of change their way of living
Yeah.
to now kind of suit the calling, when Paul's like, no, live right now and the calling will come.
He also like goes into the difference between like the life of the Gentiles versus like the leaders of the church, or like even members of the church altogether. And he let me sum it up. He kind of describes the Gentile way of life as like feudal. There's like darkened understanding. You're indulging in impurity. It's greedy. You're hardening your hearts, and like you're just a little desensitized, I guess, to things around you. Versus like that way of life of integrity and of intention of like trying to live according to the word and according to your calling, even before you know what it is. And I think it's important to note that by Gentiles, he means like anyone that is not of the church or of the faith. So it's not like a specific, like breed. It's it's just like those outside of the church.
I don't think I've ever heard someone describe Gentiles as a breed. Wow. That's one way to put it.
Like a different type of person, like a different
no, I mean breeds. I mean technically it's not the wrong word, but it's an interesting choice of words.
You're welcome.
But yeah, yeah, he talks there, and I think that was towards the end of chapter 4.
Yep. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
It's also, he's not like doing it to point a finger at the Gentiles. It's more so of like, hey, this is where you might have come from, but this is why you're no longer there. It's like it's not just showing the difference between Gentiles and like Christians, but it's more so of like, let's be aware of those impure, or like, what's the antonym for integrity?
Immoral
behaviors, yeah. I guess. All right.
Well, so and that's what Paul says in verses 20 to 22. Specifically 22, he says, throw off your old sinful nature and your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. If you go into verse 23 and 24, he says, instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes, put on your new nature, created to be like God, truly righteous and holy. So again, right, like I know we kind of started talking about living this life worthy of your calling, right? And I think he's kind of reminding them, your old way of living before you came to know Christ was not worthy of your calling.
Yep.
Because it was in this sinful nature, right? It was this immoral nature. And now he's saying, okay, when you've come to Christ and you've accepted what Christ has done on the cross by dying for your sins, you've become this new creation to God, right? You've been born again, as Jesus puts it, right? So now you have this opportunity to now live a life worthy of your calling, right? And it's that life of integrity. He puts it as true righteousness and created to be like God, truly righteous and holy. Right? So, and as you continue to read the end of chapter 4, he kind of goes into some other things that people should stop doing. And at the end of the chapter, 31 and 32, he says, get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, harsh words, and slander, as well as all types of evil behavior. Instead, be kind to each other, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as God, through Christ, has forgiven you. I honestly feel like when you look at this chapter, it reminds me of the way like you get taught to write like a essay for like your English class, where it's like you give a very vague like
the
thesis,
intro.
for your intro. Then you have a bunch of like points and you come back to your conclusion. I feel like that's exactly what he does here in chapter 4. It's like, live a life worthy of your calling.
This is how you do it.
This is how you do it. Avoid these old things. Here's the new things that you should be doing. Right? And then he ends it again by, instead, be kind to each other, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, just as God, through Christ, has forgiven you. And I think that's kind of the point of this chapter and a lot of what Paul talks about in Ephesians, which is we have to live a life worthy of our calling. And hopefully, if you're watching this and you're a believer, that is something you're aiming to do, right? That's what we should all be aiming to do, right? To be like God, truly righteous and holy, right? I don't think it means we don't mess up, right?
But like you're intentional about your actions.
Yeah. And I think that's such a key thing when we talk about integrity, right? To have integrity means you are intentional. And I don't know. I think for me, that's a good place for us to stop. Unless you guys have anything else you wanted to add.
I think it's also good that he mentioned like the gentilian behavior. I don't know. Is that the right phrase? I don't know. I'm going to use it. I like it. Because you can kind of keep that in mind when you are talking to people that are outside the church. Because it's you have to understand where people are coming from before you try to get them to go where you're going. So, yeah.
I was going to say I agree. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah.
Any last words, Asha?
She also agrees.
All right. Well, that's it for tonight's episode of Pursuit. We'll be back here again next week, Friday at 8 p.m. For the last discussion here in the book of Ephesians. Again, we encourage you to read the book of Ephesians for yourself. There's a lot more to be said about this book that we simply don't have time to talk about. But yeah, go ahead, read the book of Ephesians. And if you are in the New York City area, we encourage you to come hang out with us. We meet here at our church, Faith Assembly, which is in Richmond Hill, Queens, New York, every Friday night at 7:30.
There's
So
a lot of hesitation throughout that whole sentence.
Yeah,
do you know where we are?
I'd be forgetting stuff really easily sometimes. So I also do this on Wednesdays for Faith Break, and I almost started the last episode by welcome to another episode of Pursuit, and I had to catch myself. I'm like, what am I filming right now? Okay, so yeah. But yeah, we definitely encourage you to come hang out with us. We'd love to meet you, talk with you, hang out. Most of our events involve food. Hence, all of our quizzes involve food.
We are very food central.
Yeah.
We like to eat.
It's true. But yeah, we encourage you to come out, hang out with us. And obviously, hit the like button, hit the share button, drop some comments below. Let us know what you're thinking if you disagreed with our ice cream and wing-based choices. But yeah, let us know in the comments, and we'll be back here again next week.
If you have any other questions, I guess, about the chapter and the study, drop them down below. You can always give us a call. I guess some will answer. I don't know if they'll have all the answers, but you can ask.
Yeah, definitely call. You can also DM us. That works too. But yeah, we'll be back here again next week. I feel like this is the 5th time I've tried to end this.
Yeah.
All right. I'm done.
Good night. We'll see you next week.